All right, today we're going to be talking about the Altra Olympus 6. I've actually had my eye on Altra for a while. I mean, I ran in a pair of Altra Lone Peaks over 10 years ago. It was kind of when Altra was the new kid on the block. I think they were established in 2009, so just a couple years after they were founded, I tried a pair of their Lone Peaks. And I didn't have a great experience, but I've watched them over the years and they've really progressed and gotten experience under their belt. And I've watched their shoes change. And so recently I decided to go into Ogden Running Company, my local running store, and I was actually helped by the owner's daughter. I really enjoy supporting local businesses, and it's a local family-run business. But anyways, the owner's daughter helped me pick out this pair of shoes, and I was really excited to give them a try. And coming in at $175, these are not cheap. And you know, for a while I've said that the average running shoe is about $130, but it seems like I can't find any of the new latest and greatest shoes at that price. So maybe I need to change what I believe to be an average price for running shoes. But anyways, what I hope to do today is help you decide whether or not it's worth spending the money to get these shoes. So with that said, let's jump into the fit and sizing of this shoe. The fit and sizing in terms of length, I wear a size 9 in every shoe that I try, and these were spot on in terms of length. In terms of width, as you probably know, Altra is known for promoting natural running, and so they want a 0 drop and a wide toe box, and so these are wide in terms of fit. You can see when you look down at your feet when you put these on, you can tell that these are wider than normal shoes. With that said, one of my problems with that first pair of Altras that I ran in was that they were too wide. I never felt secure, especially on downhills. It felt like my foot was moving too much. They have, you know, over the last 10 plus years, they've figured that out. I did not feel like I was insecure in these shoes. The fit felt perfect. I had 0 complaints on the fit and sizing. In terms of weight, coming in at 12.5 ounces for a size 9, these are not light running shoes. I try never to look up specs and other reviews before I try shoes because I want to go in unbiased. I don't want to be biased by what other people think and say and by the specs. And so I had no idea how much these weighed when I started running. And I'll be the first to tell you, these do not feel light. Even when you first pick them up, it's pretty obvious that they're not very light. And when I ran in them, while they didn't feel clunky, they definitely did not feel light. And so if you're looking for a light racer, these are probably not the shoes to go with. Moving on to the outsole of the Altra Olympus 6. They have the Vibram Mega Grip outsole. And if you've watched any of my previous reviews, you know that I'm a big fan of Vibram. I feel like they are a very durable outsole and they have great grip and traction. And these are no exception on the traction part. I actually had a great experience in terms of traction. However, it seems like Altra was trying to save some weight here. I don't think they succeeded because of the weight of the shoe, but there is a lot of exposed EVA here. I would say almost half of the bottom of your foot is exposed EVA. So there is no rubber in terms of protection and durability down here. With that said, they've put the Vibram sole, the Vibram rubber, in the places where your shoe's going to experience the most wear and tear. And you know, I have over 100 miles in these, and there is very minimal wear and tear on the bottom of here. You can obviously tell that they've been worn. However, looking at how much wear is on here, I can tell you right now that these shoes, just based on the outsole here, will last well over 500 miles. And once again, that is a testament to Vibram. They make fantastic outsoles. But I did have some issues because of the exposed EVA. So I was actually talking to someone who had been running in these, and they were talking about the lack of protection. They said that they stepped on a very sharp stick that went through the EVA here, all the way up through the midsole and into the bottom of their foot. And I thought that was absolutely crazy that could happen, and that shows why you should have rubber there. But what's even crazier is that less than a week later, I was running on the trails and I stepped on a very sharp rock. And I actually got video of that rock stuck in the EVA. And it wasn't down here, it was not in this section, it was in the small little slits here of exposed EVA, but that rock was sharp enough that it had punctured through the EVA, and while it didn't hit my foot, it wasn't long enough to hit my foot, it hurt a lot because it had gone through a lot of the EVA and it was close to my foot. And so while mine seemed like a fluke because it was in such a small section of exposed EVA, but there is a lot of other areas here that are exposed without the protection of that rubber. And so, you know, I didn't think that was going to be an issue when I first picked them up, but given my issue with a rock and the person that I talked to with the sharp stick, you know, when you're trail running, that's one thing that you want to know that you have is protection on the underside of your foot. Because the last thing you want on a long run or a race is any issues with the bottom of your foot when it comes to protection from sharp rocks, sticks, roots, anything else out there on the trail. So that was kind of a bummer in terms of what they were trying to do with the sole of this shoe. But moving from the outsole into the midsole, this cushioning here, Altra is known for their zero drop, and that's exactly what they have here. The stack height in the back is 35 millimeters and it's 35 millimeters in the front, giving you a zero drop from heel to toe. And I was a little bit nervous coming into a zero drop shoe, having run in anything from 10 millimeter drops all the way down to 3 millimeter drops. I was a little worried about muscle and tendon strain. But after the first couple runs, where my calves were a little bit tight and a little bit sore after the runs, I haven't had any issues. And I've actually really enjoyed coming back to the zero drop because I subscribe to this idea of natural running. I'm always trying to make sure that my running gait keeps me landing on the ball of my foot, because heel striking, I think, leads to a lot of injuries, at least it has for me. Moving beyond the drop and into kind of the feel of this material itself, when you put on a maximal cushion shoe, you kind of expect it to be soft. These shoes are not soft. Comparing the midsole between the Altra Olympus 6 and the Nike Zagama 2s, these are soft. When you put your foot in these, it is comfortable, it is soft. These, however, are much more rigid. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, I'm just saying that that's a difference between the two. These are, while both shoes are rigid when you put them on, these aren't soft. Both of them have that same rigidity, but this one, like I said, I think I'm having a hard time explaining this. All I'm trying to say is that it's a hard midsole material, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I honestly don't have a strong preference between the midsole on this and the Nike Zagama 2s. They're just different. If I had to choose, I might go with the Zagama 2s just because my feet feel a little bit more cushioned and protected on those, but that might just be because of the exposed EVA material down here. But in terms of like energy return from the midsole material, I wasn't blown away here. There might be some energy return, but it was probably zeroed out by the fact that they are a heavier shoe. And so in summary for the midsole here, while I don't have a lot of complaints, I also don't have a lot of highlights. It is what it is. But as a quick side note before we move on, I am a neutral runner, meaning that I don't have a problem with pronation. Pronation is when you roll to the inside of your foot as you roll your foot forward. But I did talk to some runners that have pronation, and they would not recommend this shoe. And even when I was running, I could feel a little bit of a pull to the inside sometimes. I've had shoes that really push that pronation, and I did not like that. But all of that to say, as a neutral runner, I didn't really have any issues. So if you're a neutral runner, these should be just fine for you. Moving on to the upper part of the shoe, I actually really enjoyed the upper. It is incredibly breathable, the tongue stays where it's supposed to, the lacing system is fantastic. I had no rubbing or any issues in the front part of this upper right here. However, in the back, you'll see it as soon as you see these shoes, you'll notice that they've added some material here back in the heel. And I did have some issues here. When I tried them on in the store, I immediately noticed it, but I was willing to give them a try anyways. And as soon as I started running on my first run in these, I completely forgot about it. I didn't notice it. However, as soon as I found a section of trail that was steep, I'm talking over 1,000 feet of elevation in less than a mile, like that kind of steep, I immediately noticed that there was some pressure back here and I started to get a hot spot. And so I stopped. I had to stop a couple times in that section to dial in the fit. But once I dialed in the fit, I stopped having any hotspot issues, and I've continued to run in these. And in the last, since that first couple runs, in the last 70 plus miles, I haven't had any hotspots on my heel. So I think it's a fit issue. But with that said, I look at what they did back here, and I just wonder why. I'm sure Altra had a reason why they did this, but it seems like such an odd place to put that kind of material there, knowing that that is a high pressure spot, and if you don't dial in that material perfectly, people are gonna have issues. And I know people had issues because I've seen people destroy this shoe in a review because they had hot spots back there. But like I said, for me, it wasn't an issue because I dialed in the fit, and you know, I'm just saying this because I hope that people know that going into this, that could be an issue, but it wasn't for me. And before I wrap up the upper here, they do have this gator trap, the Velcro in the back, and then the hook in the front. So if you run with gaiters to keep, you know, dirt and debris or mud or even snow out, that's a cool feature. I have gaiters that I don't need that for, so I didn't use it. Now moving on to something even more subjective, my opinion on the looks. I have a really hard time finding max cushion shoes, these high cushion shoes that look good. And I actually think Altra did a pretty good job here. I think they did a good job making this shoe look aggressive instead of like a platform clown shoe that, you know, some of the other high cushion shoes look like, in my opinion. And so I think these look aggressive. I think they look pretty cool. They did a good job. And so if I were to give it, you know, out of 10, my subjective opinion here is like a 7.5. I'll give these a 7.5 out of 10. So take that for what it's worth. But moving on to my summary, my overall thoughts here. If you've watched any of my reviews before, you know what I'm looking for is a shoe that feels like a natural extension of my foot. And so how did these do? I actually think that they did a fairly good job. I did have some issues from the heel cup on one run, and I was able to dial in the fit, so that ended up not being that big of a deal. But then I did have the rock that penetrated the EVA material here that made me wonder how much protection I really am getting from the bottom of the shoe here. And so that's just kind of been something that has been in the back of my head. Outside of that, you've got the weight. These were just a bit heavier. I never felt fast in these. The big question, I guess, is will I continue to run in these? And the answer to that question is yes. I think these shoes are a workhorse, everyday, solid runner. Now, when it comes to racing, I definitely won't race in these. These shoes are heavy. I didn't feel fast, and I didn't feel like I was getting any energy return compared to some of the other running shoes that I've had. But in terms of an everyday workhorse shoe, I don't think you would be completely disappointed if you were to buy these shoes. I don't think everyone's going to experience the hot spots in the back. I don't think everyone's going to have problems with the exposure of the EVA here. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a reliable, durable shoe, this could be the shoe you're looking for. So at $175, I hope you now know whether or not that's worth it for this shoe for you. And if this review was helpful, I hope you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.